But because it's always about the books, I wanted to ask Hebe about some of her favourite books to share, to give you a little bit of insight before we do this later on in June, and collect lots of other people's interests, and hopefully be able to promote more stories about women, for women, and wider.
So try.
Yeah, get it.
So what I've just realised is that all my books that I've brought with me, not consciously, are by like lesbian, bisexual women.
Nice.
So maybe that just reflects what my book collection is. What my book collection is like at home. But I was just like, no, like these are the ones that were really important to me. Like, well, maybe it's preferences. They reflected that. Yeah. So the first book is a book called Reality by Jackie Kay. Jackie Kay is brilliant. Like, I love her books. I've been to see her talk quite a few times to do readings. I saw her and another author who's really great called Alison. They did a little talk a while ago, and it was just great. So they were doing kind of some poems, readings from their books, and just kind of general kind of chat about the politics of now, the state of the world. So it was Jackie Kay talking a bit about going to like Greenham Common as a child, and kind of being really active from an early age. And
do you want to just explain Greenham Common? Because I don't think a lot of people on
so Greenham Common, so it was essentially a big protest and an occupation by it's a big group of women in Greenham who were against nuclear weapons. So they kind of stormed this nuclear arms base and refused to leave. So they went through various stages of being chaining themselves to the railings outside, living inside on these kind of little commune camps. But there's a lot of images and sort of writing about particular protests that they did, where they just had lots of women all holding hands around the entire base. It's really significant sort of event for women and environmental activism, but also kind of demonstrates how women in particular have been at the core of that.
On a peaceful level as well.
Yeah, on a peaceful level. So they did, for example, so they would just sneak into the camp, essentially, like when guards weren't looking. So some people, I think, because they were women and because their expectations of the women was really quiet, I think even though it was called the Women's Peace Camp, it was still kind of painted as this sort of rebellious, like aggressive thing. But really, they were like, actually, like, we're just going to live here, like, because I think there were children who were born in Greenham too, so like Greenham babies and like people bringing their children. So that kind of, I think that's important. So yeah, I went to see Jackie Kay, and she was talking about that and how that was very important to her childhood.
And which is this one about?
So Reality, so it's a collection of, I can't remember how many, but a few short stories. So she does write kind of longer pieces. Some of them are like autobiographical, like for example Red Dust Road, and the Adoption Papers. So the Adoption Papers is a book by her, which is about being a mixed race black woman who was adopted into a kind of communist family in Scotland. It's her kind of search for her birth family, kind of, and managing the expectations of that. But the reason I chose Reality is because she's got quite a few collections of short stories, but they usually revolve around women, and it's always a range of women who have different experiences in life. So who are maybe older and who living in a care home, maybe kind of against their will. Women who are isolated, but happy about it. Women who are isolated and want to break out of that. So I guess like the theme of this one is kind of different women's realities, and that's something that interests me. Because I think that if I only read about white women, or I only read about, for example, lesbian women, I wouldn't be kind of getting a full picture of the world. So I feel like some of Jackie Kay's books provide a bit of that insight and kind of make you think, and sometimes there are twists or things aren't exactly as you expect them to be. There's lots of women talking to other women in here, and lots of women sort of internal, personal monologues, which I think is not rare in books, but I think actually for someone to write from such a broad range, to write about such a broad range of experiences that maybe aren't their own, kind of shows that someone is really connected with people, is really connected with other people's stories. So, for example, the story in this book is called "These Are Not My Clothes." I guess she's thinking about a particular experience of a woman who's in a care home and is very confused. So it starts with kind of as a worker kind of dressing her, and she's saying, "These are not my clothes. Why do they keep putting these clothes on?" Yeah, like kind of that confusion and kind of distress, rather than a story about there's a woman and she's small, and isn't it sad that she's in a care home? It kind of draws a lot of sympathy from you, but also kind of like, this isn't really right, or like she doesn't have a lot of freedom. She's kind of trapped. She's trapped here, and it's a kind of different perspective. I think a lot of her stories encourage you to kind of look around rather than kind of looking in. She's just got a really nice voice. I think a lot of people. I know. I've gone on about her voice a lot, but it just feels like a hug. Like it feels like a really warm hug, because she's quite quiet but cheeky. I don't know. There's just something about her, and I feel like that little bits of her come out in there. The next book is a book called Prejudice and Pride.
I'm really pleased you chose this one, because I didn't even I haven't discussed this one on my channel at all. But.
So this is written by various people. So the name of the book is Prejudice and Pride: LGBT Activist Stories from Manchester and Beyond. It's a book of stories, but also activities and kind of timelines and kind of a little bit of kind of interviews. Like it was part of this big project that we were doing at the Proud Trust, which was about interviewing activists, teachers, and youth workers, kind of about their kind of experiences of being LGBT activists, teachers, and youth workers. Kind of before Section 28, which was a law that was brought in 1988, which meant that you couldn't promote homosexuality in schools.
Good knowledge.
It sounds vague, but it was deliberately vague. What promotion? Yeah. You can't put up a poster, but it was kind of, you couldn't promote homosexuality in a positive light. And there was another kind of clause in it about you couldn't promote the pretend family. So pretend family might be anything outside of the nuclear family of there's a husband and a wife and 2 children and a dog. So that would have been single parents, adoptees, especially lesbian mothers were kind of branded as being particularly sort of deviant, and there was kind of a lot of publicity released about how lesbians were kind of by default bad mothers. So obviously all the lesbians were very angry about that. So we're really great mums, and actually we need to sort out childcare. Still not got free childcare. Why have we not? So this book, it was lots of interviews. So it was when me, Nelly were working at the same youth group. So
Hebe interviewed me when I first came.
How the tables. So it was training up the young people who we were working with to be oral historians. So to collect those stories, think about what kind of questions you might ask to get a full picture. And then they went out and interviewed teachers, youth workers, and activists. So this book has a couple of different chapters trying to sort of cover lots of different areas of life. So things that people were arguing about, things that people were kind of agreeing about and kind of resisting against, and just kind of general what was going on around this time. So, but all the chapters are made up from sort of free writing from lots of different authors, but a lot of them are informed by the interviews.
And I'll add a link in the description below so that you can actually purchase it from the Proud Trust. But it is also great in actually capturing a bit of our history, our local history, because a lot of that can just be ignored. Or
it gets lost because we don't know. So I think that when people were we had a few people who were doing various bits of research. And I think, so part of that project was to try and get young people who we were working with interested in LGBT history and kind of finding out things and being wow, so it was like that, or basically every young person we worked with after that point knew what Section 28 was. Definitely. After explaining it like a lot of times, like people finally got it. They're like, oh wow, and then they were talking to teachers who were like, oh well, no one was ever actually prosecuted. Like they tried to prosecute one person, but it was just impossible to prove. And it was sort of silly and pointless. But they spoke to teachers who, for example, were not like asked to leave because of Section 28, but they felt uncomfortable, or it was a kind of hostile environment for them to be in. So quite a few people then went into like tutoring.
But because the negative repercussion as well, because that was in place as I was growing up, like in terms of sex education, like we just had no visibility, no ability to even discuss it, and that just made it very poisonous environments for kids who are in the community under that umbrella, and it was difficult for teachers to actually defend those who identified.
Yeah, well, they just couldn't. Like, I think that was so. For example, if you were a teacher and a young person maybe came out to you, there would be a very small amount that you could do. You couldn't really support that young person, or you would do it kind of at a pretty big risk. You could be out at work. I think a lot of that culture is kind of carried on, or it meant because in schools there wasn't anything in the curriculum about LGBT people because it wasn't allowed. So I think Section 28 ended in 2003, but it was only in like 2014.
You are good on your dates. I
think it's only in 2014 that they actually sort of just updated everything. So like you could speak about LGBT people, gay people, but there was nothing actually added into the curriculum. Like, okay, maybe we should mention like Frida Kahlo for doing that, maybe, or like I remember that when I was at school, so it would have been a little after Section 28 was repealed. But, we were looking at Carolyn W. Poems. Like, I had no idea that she was a lesbian, or the first like poet laureate who was a woman. And then at the same time being the first lesbian woman poet laureate. And
just ignore that part.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's not the most important thing about her, but if we're looking at someone's work, and then it started to make sense, like, oh, that's why she's doing all this like Miss Shakespeare stuff. It kind of makes sense now.
Yeah.
Like, so some kind of puzzle pieces sort of came together there. So I can see why some people might be like, oh well, does it matter what the gender of an author? Does it matter about their sexual orientation? In some ways it shouldn't, but actually it does.
And sometimes it informs it, and sometimes that's not the point or part of the issue.
But if you're just like, but actually, you can just mention like it's an everyday thing, so like Frida Kahlo, like, oh yeah, do you know she was a communist? Yes. Do you know she was a bisexual woman? Yes. She was a disabled woman? Yes. We need to have that fuller picture of people. It doesn't mean that the fuller picture might not be a person that we like, or that, there's flaws there, but I think having that whole picture helps to understand someone's work, so particularly a writer's work.
So I hope that encourages people to go check it out.
On our YouTube channel, there's some interviews that were conducted. It's one of you, Ali. I remember who you interviewed.
It was Peter Tatchell. I actually had a horrible cold that day, so you
like,
might see.
Like blowing your nose.
Yeah. Eyes streaming. But yeah, he was a very nice man. Did you do one?
Yeah, I think I interviewed someone who was a teacher, someone called Tony.
Okay.
I think I interviewed, so that's how I kind of have a bit more insight into that particular story, where I said that someone was kind of felt like he kind of was really sort of pushed out of his job because it was too stressful and it was too intense.
Okay, on to the last one.
So this giant book is the Essential Advice to Watch Out For by Alison Bechdel. You might have heard the name Bechdel before from the Bechdel test. So that was something. So that's the.
Okay.
Say what it is.
Yeah.
So what is the Bechdel test?
What is the Bechdel test? So because my understanding is that this started off as a comic strip, and then during one of the sections in her strip, there was a discussion between two of her characters where they were about to go to the cinema, and one of them is saying, "Oh, I only watch movies now where there's proper, adequate female representation." And she has a series of rules.
Here's the rules.
So there has to be dialogue between the women where they're not discussing men, and it has to have more than one female character. And
otherwise, she'd just be talking to herself.
Yeah.
I think the kind of the wider implication of that is that also there needed to be a kind of breadth of different. Yeah, there had to be more than two women to have this conversation, not about a man, and sort of generally about actually the whole film having a kind of representation of women. So it's not enough that if there's one conversation that lasts has 10 seconds of screen time. That would be the bare minimum. So sometimes there's a website you can go on. I can't remember what the website is, but if you just search
I will find it.
Bechdel test. So you can see what films pass.
It's crazy though, in terms of
then the irony that then lots of people don't know that it came from Alison Bechdel, who is a lesbian woman. So it's kind of this thing that just existed, or someone wrote it. So in the comic strip, the comic strip is just called The Rule. Yeah, that's these two characters.
Yeah, because it was something that academics picked up, wasn't it? Because this is she's not an academic; she's a cartoonist.
No, yeah. So she's a cartoonist. People might know her book Fun Home more than Dykes, because that's doing a stage show now.
Oh really?
And also I think it's pretty cool.
Okay.
In my point of view, but yes, she primarily started out as a cartoonist and then kind of moved into graphic novels too. So essentially, she was writing this in the 90s, 90s and 2000s, and then it's kind of accumulated into this epic. It's kind of lesbian epic, lesbian epic comic. But yeah, I think I just really like it. I could rave about Alison Bechdel a lot, but I just think she's just a very interesting person, kind of the work that she's made, and so the graphic novels as well. It's just very interesting. I think also someone else who's sort of delving into a bit like Jackie Kay, and I guess sort of like Prejudice and Pride, sort of delving into other people's experience to kind of create these immersive environments where you feel like you really know characters, and it is so fun. But the kind of lesbian, bisexual, women-centered soap opera that we've never really had.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, thank you very much for going through all of those, because I think that just gives us so much to actually look into and think about. But also, I hope that stimulates a lot of other people's ideas in terms of representation and books that we should be checking out. And I'm very excited for our collaboration at the cafe over in June. So come back and enjoy and take a look at what we're up to. But thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And this has been super fun, and I will see you again soon. Okay, see you later. Bye.
Bye.